Ask yourself this. Do you think that you can realistically stick with 3 or 4 times a week for 80% of the year? Realistically, if that is something, if 4 times a week is something you can stick with for 80% of the time, 4 times a week is your goal. It's not perfection. It's always about progress, and it's all or something rather than all or nothing. Consistency comes from that 80% of the time. You asked, and I am answering. In today's episode, we are diving into some of the most popular fitness questions that I get asked all the time on my Instagram. And we're going to talk about how to find the right balance in your workout schedule, tips for structuring your sessions like a pro, and when it's time to actually shake things up. I'm also going to share advice on staying on track through setbacks like injuries and tackling some common concerns around creatine. If you're ready for no-nonsense answers to level up your fitness game, let's get started. And a warm welcome to my friend, what would I even call you? Honestly, I still sometimes call you my assistant, but you're so much more than that.
I don't even know how to explain
Emily,
my job.
My Emily. I literally just am like, my Emily
My
is here
Emily.
today. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. It's so fun to be back in the studio. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, and I will just say to you that I've done a lot of solos recently, and it is so nice to like be in person with someone instead of just talking in my little corner of my office to the camera. I'm like, people here, yay.
I can
It's so much
imagine.
fun.
Yeah, you get to get dressed up, go in studio.
I know, like, look at how cute you look today.
Thank you.
Emily is, can I say your age? Am I allowed to say
Yeah,
this?
sure.
She's a decade younger than me, so I like appreciate the fact that she has that Gen Z in her, but she is very like an old soul, right?
Yeah.
She hangs out with a lot of millennials and all this stuff, and I'm like, she came in, you guys, this morning and said, or just now, and said, I looked cute. And she said, the black and the black boots. I was like, yes, let's go.
Immediately.
So I appreciate that so
Yeah.
much. And obviously, you always look cute. We were just talking about your hair before this, so
Thank you.
tell us about how you get your hair to look that great.
If you're watching, you can see it's very straight right now. Well, we were just saying before we started recording, like we should save this for the podcast.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like hair care, there's a lot to it.
A lot to it.
And I used to wash my hair every single day. And I mean, I always had like good hair, but it'd be kind of dry and straggly. And I got to the point a couple years ago where I started training it, like you were saying, to do every other day.
Yeah.
And then I do a couple days. And now I'll wash it once or twice a week, I think.
Oh my gosh.
And it actually, like, my hair is best on day 3 or 4 with no wash. This is going on, I think, like day 5. And so it took time, but now I feel like my hair feels a lot more healthy. And I take collagen, and I do all these other things for my health too. So that obviously like plays a part in it all.
course.
But
Yeah.
I am happy with it.
Yes, it's so good. Maybe I'll record a whole podcast on this because my hair journey has been
Honestly,
a long
Yeah,
time.
you've
I think
had
that might be good
a journey
because
with it.
genetics on both sides. My hair loss is huge in my family. My grandma wore a wig at 40 years old. My mom has always had hair extensions. My dad's been bald since he was 40, and my brother has been bald since he was like 25. So it's like that's always been a thing in my family. I have like in the past year gone through a lot of things. I've done this thing called Derive, and I finally feel like people are like, oh my gosh, your hair looks so healthy and thick. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's actually working. And we were talking about this before. Like I've had a very fine, thin hair. I've always had to wash my hair every day. I mean, sometimes in the same day, it's like already greasy and I'm just like, what the hell? But I'm finally every other day. And I feel really good about that. So
Let's go.
yeah.
It's a big step. And I know, like with hair too, I feel like there's so much, it can feel so out of your control, but at the same time, there is a lot you can do to take care of it and
Totally.
be preventative and everything. And I have seen you do so much for it. So I think a full episode on that would be great, would be fire.
That's a good idea. Because I've tried all the things like the biotin and collagen and Nutrafol. I mean, name the supplement, I've taken it. I've also like gotten tested for alopecia and like female pattern baldness and like everything was always clean. And so I just like didn't understand. It was just like, it's such a genetics thing. And so like going through this whole process and really trying to train my hair, but also feel a little bit more comfortable with it now has just been huge. So yeah, maybe I should. You guys should let me know if you want to hear that. But I always love your hair. I come in and on every time and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so straight today because she has beautiful, wavy, thick hair. So
you're one of my number one hair hype people.
Honestly,
like, no joke.
But like, think about it like this. What is something that you really appreciate on another woman?
Hair. Well, and I think like for me, it hits extra deep because I watched growing up, like my mom had cancer and she lost all of her hair.
Right. Yeah.
And she had beautiful, beautiful hair. And obviously like the entire experience was hard for her. But watching like a woman who like had beautiful hair like lose it and come to peace with that and terms with it. And she wore like scarves and wigs all of my life.
Yeah.
It really like, sometimes I'm like, am I being vain? But my hair means like a lot to me because I've just like, to me, it's this like symbol and it's one of my favorite features about myself.
Yeah.
So it does feel good to like take care of it and have people like notice it, you know, and things like that. And I have a deep appreciation for my hair that I don't know if I'd maybe have as much for if not for like watching somebody go through that process, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very thankful that I have good hair.
Yeah, it's so special, and so much of what we have in our minds and in our hearts and what we think about is like from past experiences, right? Or something that we might not have ourselves. Like for me, I'm like, I always will notice your hair because it's thick and gorgeous and I've never had that before. For someone else, they might be like, oh my gosh, your arms are so sculpted. I've never had that before. So they notice everyone with sculpted arms. You know what I mean? What is like, do you have anything else that you would notice on a woman that you're like, I don't have that or I think about that? Maybe
honestly, it's kind of like the physique part.
Okay.
I feel like I've always struggled with body image and with like liking the way I look.
Yeah.
And so whether it's like with you, like seeing how strong yet like feminine, like I just feel like the way you carry yourself and like your physique and everything, I always like notice it. And I have a couple friends too where like I just feel like I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just this style, it's like this physique and this way of being like strong yet also like soft and all these ways that I maybe I even have but I don't like see in myself. So for me it's definitely, it'll be like a nice like muscle flex or like the way someone carries themselves, like the grace and like the way they move in their body is something I think I really like notice in other women.
I love that. Yeah. You guys should think about this. Like,
what
question. Is one thing? It's so funny, like the hair thing for me. And then because I've never had them, boobs.
Okay, same. When I'm talking about female physique, like I'm not being creepy looking at women, but like if I had boobs, I'd be very happy.
Like if I ever, like those are the two things because I just have never had either.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I appreciate you're like, oh, the way women like move throughout their body and their strength and confidence and let me see your boobs.
Yep.
Like I'm going to be real. Yeah. I'm just like, if I just had like a little bit, what would I look like if, I mean, I used to stuff my bra in high school a little bit. So, you know.
Yeah.
I guess you can change that if you want. I just have never personally wanted to.
Same. I'm like, how can I naturally grow boobs? And I don't know if that'll happen. I always joke, my friends like joke that I have a really good like butt and like glutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wish I could like grow my boobs in the same way that you can grow your glutes, you know? Like, yeah, it's so partially genetic, but you can also do workouts and eat and all the things to grow your glutes.
100%. Yeah. And I have been able to grow my glutes. And we know people that have been able to grow their glutes. But like, there's only so many push-ups you can do to have the optical illusion. Because that's all it is. Like, people, I've actually had that question before. They're like, hey, so like, do you think you can like make your boobs look bigger? And I was like, well, technically, I have more cleavage. I'm putting this in quotes because it's literally just muscle. And it looks like there's a line now. But if I didn't have that and you took that line away, it would just be flatness. You know what I mean? Yeah. So unfortunately, that is not something we can change ourselves, but with help, if we wanted to.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. So obviously this is a Q&A, but I just wanted to say thanks for being here. I love doing these with you and just stoked to be here in person. Give us a little update. She just turned 25.
Good.
And this is a big year for you. And I just have seen you grow so much over the past couple of years that I've known you now. So what are you taking into this year and what are you like most excited about right now?
What I'm most excited about right now are just like all the opportunities that I see sort of coming into my life, and not just relating to work, but also related to like my creativity and people and relationships and travel, you know, like all of the potential feels very high right now.
Ooh, I love that.
And then what I'm like also feeling and sort of like seeing for this year is this like greater sense of self-security, self-confidence, like self-worth essentially. And I've been feeling that inward for a while now, and people externally are like commenting and making little notes about it. So it feels really good to have not only like that inner feeling of being more secure in my sense of self and confidence, but having people reflect that too, and having both like inner and external affirmation of it. And I know that that's going to only help, propel forward with all those opportunities too, because it takes that confidence and self-security to really like go after potential and to say yes and to give it a try and things like that. So
I think so much of what you have is in here, but you surround yourself with incredible people that are able to like really help you bring that out more.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice to just be able to hear it from someone else, even though deep inside you probably know it's true, but hearing those affirmations from other people, you're like, oh, I am that bad bitch, Yes. And so it's just so cool. This is like just a PSA. Compliment people more often, like tell them how great they are. Emily, you're so amazing.
Thank you.
Appreciate you so much. You're my hype girl. I'm your hype girl back to you. But yeah, those affirmations are huge, like especially for the people that are close to you in your life. They mean so much to you and they can really help you flourish as much as possible. So
1000%. And my friend was saying that a while ago. He's like, I just don't want to hold back anymore. If I feel like I want to compliment someone or take note of something, like I just want to say it.
Yes.
And it really struck home for me of like how many people do that for me. And I want to be more expressive in that way too, and just say the thing to people, whether it's someone I know or a stranger, like compliment them, say the thing on your mind. And you never know how it'll impact someone.
100%. Like I was talking about you're complimenting my outfit. Teddy came home the other night. He was out with some friends and he was like, this really stylish guy came up to me and said that that my outfit was awesome. He was talking about it for days afterwards.
Oh.
And he's like, not a lot of dudes like compliment each other that often, right?
Yeah.
And so he was like, man, I felt so good about myself. I was like, damn, this shirt is cool. Like, so it means so much. And like, obviously make it true to yourself and from your heart. But like these little things, they add up for sure over time.
They really do compound.
Yeah. So, okay, I love that. Expansion, potential. My word of the year is energetic.
Ooh.
Because I want to bring in good vibes, good energy, good people, good opportunities.
Yeah, I like that.
All good things. So I'm excited.
You already do that, but let's hope it's tenfold this year.
Exactly. That's what I try to do that myself, but I'm trying to bring in more good vibes.
Okay. I see.
I want to like swim in the good energy and good vibes. All
good feeling.
I'm just swimming.
Are you a water sign?
Gemini. No.
I know, so you're air. Okay.
Air. See, like, you know what? You could probably teach me a lot about horoscopes. I don't know a ton about it.
I know a little bit.
I talk to a lot of my friends and they're like, oh yeah, you're so Gemini. And I'm like, yeah, that means I have two personalities. Okay.
You're like, that's what you mean by that.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay, should we get to the Q&A?
Let's get into it.
Let's do
bullshit
it.
all day.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So we're going to dive right in. Let's start with, is it better to train 3 or 4 days a week?
This is such a great question because truly it depends on the person. But when I was thinking about this question, I'm trying to do more analogies to like really get it in people's heads. But what I want you to do is think about your entire year. So literally from January 1st to December 31st. And that is 52 weeks out of the year. Ask yourself this. Do you think that you can realistically stick with 3 or 4 times a week for 80% of the year, which is about 42 weeks of the year, which is about, let's call it 10 months of the year. We break it down, let's call that January to October. Realistically, if 4 times a week is something you can stick with for 80% of the time, 4 times a week is your goal. If you're like, oh, well, I travel a lot for work, or when my kids are in school, it's really hard to stick with it. And some weeks I get 2, and some I get 4, and some I get 5. 3 is perfect for you. But really, it just totally depends on the person, what their goals are, and what they have going on in their life. And it's not perfection. It's always about progress, and it's all or something rather than all or nothing. And so I personally love a 3-day-a-week plan. I think it works for so many people. I think you can see so much progress on it, especially if you're intentional with your programming, like Broads. Obviously, plug for Broads. But yeah, I think you can get so much out of it with 3 times a week. But if you say to yourself, like, hey, last year I was really consistent with 3 times a week, I can hit 4. All right, let's see it. And like, let's really make that a goal. But there's no better than. It's totally depends on the person and what they are capable of doing and accomplishing themselves.
Yeah, and I suppose it's better to say 3 times a week and hit that consistently over and over again,
100%.
and get that dopamine spike of I did it, I did it, I did it again, versus, maybe trying to push yourself a bit too far. And then even if you, quote unquote fall short and it's not a huge deal, it's still like a feeling within.
For sure.
So I love that idea of, I really like that zooming out aspect and looking at it from that grander view of what is going to feel most consistent and possible in the long run.
And really, consistency comes from that 80% of the time. Like, if you want to break it down, we could break it down for the year is like 10 months out of the year. Then we break it down for the month. Okay, 3 out of the 4 weeks of the month, can you hit that 3 times or 4 times a week? Where 1 week, is, something going on, whatever. Is that something that you can realistically stick with? And I think that's a really great opportunity for you to like really step back and just see it from that point of view. So
I love it.
What are you at right now? How many days a week are you going?
Probably 4, I would say.
Yeah.
3 to 4 for in the gym. But then I run.
Yeah.
And then I like to do like at home, sort of like yoga mixed with bar.
Cool.
So it's been varying. But I have been, the holidays really threw me for a loop, and I was getting way off I was not consistent with like anything. And I feel like the past week I'm just starting to like find a flow again. And I'm really looking forward to getting back to consistency.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to remind myself, I'm like, okay, it's like that all or something mindset versus the all or nothing. Because I'll very quickly fall into that like, well, I might as well not do anything at all.
Yeah.
Versus like, let's just do even 20 minutes of lifting some weights, something to like get it in for the day.
Yeah. And you're talking about holidays. You had your birthday. Like that was about a month of time, right? Maybe a month to like 6 weeks in general, which is totally normal for holidays. Cool. If we look at that 6 weeks compared to the grand scheme of 52 weeks in the year, that's still more than 80% of the time, which means, Emily, you are consistent. Congratulations. So always like look at it from that perspective. Like just like what you said, the holidays were hard. It's hard if you travel, birthdays, like there's always stuff going on. But if you know that like the rest of the time you can stay consistent with it, that's your goal.
I like that. Okay. Good. So that being said, how do you know how to structure a workout?
Well, if you just join Broads, I will structure it all for you.
Easy.
We did an entire podcast on how to write a workout for a beginner, and I'm a huge proponent of full body workouts, especially if you're doing 2 or 3 times a week. Typically in Broads, we do 2 upper, 2 lower if we're going to go for a 4-day-a-week plan, but it just totally depends on the month. So realistically speaking, if we're structuring a workout and it's a full body workout, I like to look at it from 5 places. Number 1, before the 5 is your warm-up. We always have a warm-up and mobility in all of the Broads workouts. Then we have our work, and then we have our cool down. But the work, we can look at it as 5 exercises: front of legs, back of legs, push, pull, and core. So if you're like, okay, I want to do 2 workouts a week that are full body or 3 workouts a week that are full body, pick an exercise from each of those. So what's front of legs exercises? What can we say? Squats, lunges. Come on, you got this. Leg extensions.
Yeah. Cut. I'm bad with body geography.
Front of legs is quads, right? There's a big, huge muscles on the front of our thighs.
Yes.
Back of legs. Give me these. I know you've got.
That would include glutes, right?
Yeah.
Bulgarian split squats.
Okay.
Cable pull throughs.
Love it. She's been doing the broad workouts.
Yeah.
Any deadlift variation, right? Any hinge.
Deadlifts.
Right. So that's our second exercise.
Okay.
Push. Typically, we're looking at upper body now. So we've got our
bench
booby workouts.
Yes. Chest.
We got our bench press. We've got anything shoulder related. So Arnold press, shoulder press, military press. Then we look at our 4th exercise, which is our pull. Any row. Your row variation of choice. Give me some here.
Like when dumbbell row.
Dumbbell row.
When you're on the bench.
We got a pull up. Got an inverted row. We got chest supported row. Lat pull down.
Oh, I like lat pull downs with the band.
If you
band or something. Yeah.
Palaf is our core.
Okay.
So then we have number 5 would be our core movement, which would be
jumping ahead.
Yeah. We got a V-up. We got a dead bug. We've got anything. We got so many different core movements. Really, that core movement can go away too, because most of the compound lifts that we just talked about use our core. But if you want to add that in, love it. We add that always in Broads too, because I know People love working the abs.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like I just gave you 3 workouts right there, really, with all the exercises that we're going. So if we're structuring a workout, we want our compound lifts first, and then we have our isolations basically following that. But you can also structure it where, and we've done this too, maybe you have a little mobility warm up, you have a little CNS prep, which is like a box jump, a swing, a vertical jump, anything like more high intensity skater. And then you lean into your compound lift of the day, which is typically we'll do maybe 1, maybe 2 heavy squats, a heavy deadlift, a heavy bench or something like that. And then you go into your accessories that will help build those compound lifts. So tons of different ways to structure it. This is kind of a loaded question, but if we like break it down from a very like beginner full body look, that's what I would say. Front of legs, back of legs, push, pull, core. Pick 5. Sets and reps, rests kind of just depend on, how much time you have, what your goals are and all that stuff. But we do have that full episode on it. I think it's one of the earlier
episode is and it's one of the most popular too. People got so much like takeaway from it, and I know for me personally, even it was just mind blowing to finally understand. Oh, this is how to structure a workout.
Yeah.
Granted, I still did not want to do any of the work to do it.
Yeah.
Which is why I love broads. But it is cool because, there are days where you want to like shift a movement, or maybe you don't have your phone, or you're just in like a new environment, and being able to kind of pull that from the back of your mind and be like, okay, how can I make a quick workout with what I have available? So helpful and great for like actually having that motivation and ability to go out and do the works.
Yeah. Here's an even maybe a little bit easier way to look at it. Like if we think of our joints, our knee dominant movements like a squat is our front of legs. Our hip dominant is typically our back of legs.
Okay.
Shoulder dominant is typically like our push. I guess push and pull, but also that could be, elbows and wrists and spine with the back movement. So if you even just like look at your body, you can kind of make movements from that too. So it's just a cool way to like be in tune and be a little bit more body aware with what you do too. Obviously, there's so much, we can take this so much further. There's planes of movement. Like we don't always want to be front to back. We want to move side to side. We want to twist, all that stuff. But yeah, I think the best way to do it is just to like figure out what works best for you or join broads.
You want the easy answer? Join broads. Yes, it's free.
Yeah.
How do you know when it's time to switch up a program?
Another really great question. This is really, I would say, at the minimum 4 weeks. But I've been on some programs that'll be 8, 12 weeks long. My powerlifting program was 12 weeks where I did the exact same thing 12 weeks in a row, where a lot of people would be like, oh my God, that's so boring. But I saw some serious improvements because I was always doing the same stuff. And really, when you're doing a competition like that, where those are your 3 moves, it's like the more you do that, the better you're going to get out of it. How do you know specifically? I would say at least 4 weeks so you can make sure that your RPE is progressing over time. If you hit some sort of plateau, so if you're on it for maybe closer to like 6, 8, 10 weeks or something, you're like, well, I'm not really seeing any progress. What's happening here? You might need some variation change, and that's why we do it in broads. It's monthly programs. You also might just be bored with it, and that's totally fair too. You might just need like a little bit of motivation. Like I have clients that'll be like, man, I'm so much more excited to work out now because I know it's a brand new week of workout or a brand new month of workouts. So that might be a push to like get you back in there again and get excited about it. Maybe you have in that same powerlifting program, I had some elbow tendonitis because I was benching so much. And so maybe you're getting these like little injuries here and there. Like that could be a great point for you to be like, oh, let's look at the plan. Let's see what's happening here. And like, how can I shift things around to make sure that I'm feeling good in my body, adding in more mobility and stuff like that. So tons of different ways, but I would say give yourself at least 4 to 5 weeks on a plan before you switch it out.
It's interesting because what you said with like the powerlifting, like your 8 to 12 week program you did, I find that if they're movements I like, I'm like, I could do this for 12 weeks. Like if I like the movements, my body feels good with them, and I can feel progression happening, like I'll keep going and going and going. And then there's some programs where it might be like challenging, or it's like working a part of my body that's kind of tight, like an elbow tweak or a hip tweak, something. And at that point, I'm like, okay, 4 weeks, like let's move on to the next one. But I do like, because even with like broads, like you guys build the programming like to kind of like feed into each other, you know?
For sure.
And so I feel like that keeps things interesting too. And it's a good way to like switch things up in the gym and keep it fresh and keep challenging yourself too. Because I know sometimes if I keep doing the same thing over and over again, I mentally check out, you know, because it becomes habitual.
Yeah.
And so having to learn a new movement pattern or start with like a lower weight because it's so new to me, it's a good challenge. And I think leaning into that's really supportive for like overall progression in the gym and life.
I really would say like in every program, there should be something that you really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love a Bulgarian split squat. Not everyone does.
Same.
There should be something that you do not enjoy. Like everyone hates front squats in this program right now. And it's there for a reason. They suck, but you're only going to get better at them. You're only going to like them more if you do them more and find the variation that works best for you. And then one movement that's like a whatever that you can just kind of do and not even think about it. And so in every program, you have to make sure that you are challenging yourself in each ways, because if you do have a plan that you like forever, it's really hard to like see a ton of progress on that if you're just doing the same thing forever. So make sure that you're still doing things that you don't like.
On that note, how long should I be in the gym if I want to see results?
This is great. I've actually been timing my workouts, my broads workouts to a T this week because I wanted to make sure that it was around the length that I was telling people. All the workouts are 45 to 75 minutes, but it totally depends on the weight that you're lifting, your experience level, what week you're on. Like the first week of every plan is a little bit longer, but my workouts this week have been upper body is just typically a little bit shorter, so 45 to 50 minutes. Lower body is right around an hour, just a little bit over that. But you don't need more than an hour or like a little bit over an hour, really just to like warm up and cool down, because the warm up's around 10, 12 minutes, cool down's 5, 6 minutes. The actual work itself is going to be that like bulk of time of like 30 to 40 minutes. And then just throwing this out there, squats are always going to take longer to set up. Deadlifts are always going to take longer. Hip thrusts always take longer to set up. So you have to just like put that into the time that you have. But you can get so much out of your workouts if you like are in there doing the shit and not just, you know, getting distracted for 45, 60 minutes. I think that's a really good amount of time. At home, it might be even shorter than that because you don't have to get everything ready.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like if I always try to think about when I'm planning out my day or like the gym session, whatever it is, like knowing upper body's always less time than lower body.
For sure.
At least for me personally. And it seems like that's a general consensus for people as well. And then also looking ahead and seeing like, okay, what do I need to set up in the gym? Is this a day where I can just like grab and go with dumbbells and kettlebells and maybe like a light barbell? Or am I going to like need more time built into my schedule to like set things up and really like be there for it? And that's been huge for me because there's nothing worse than like, in my opinion, I hate being rushed in the gym. Like I absolutely hate it because I like to go in and take time with the warm up and actually like mobilize my body and feel ready to go versus trying to like rush through it all and then rush through the workout. And I feel like my best seasons of like feeling good in my body and seeing like results, quote unquote, is when I'm actually giving myself the time to properly show up for the workouts.
For sure.
To do the warm up, to do the mobility, to like not half-ass the movements because I'm trying to skip through them real quick.
Yeah.
And to also like have a cool down too.
Yeah.
And that it always feels better too. Like in short term and in long term, I feel like that always does best for me.
And if you are someone that needs that extra time to warm up or cool down, just pare it down just a little bit so that you make sure that you have it and you have the time available to do that. Because I'm the same way, but then that makes my workout like 1:15, then driving to the gym for 15, leaving for 15. That's 2 hours in the middle of my day or in the morning. Like it's hard to do that. And I totally get that for a lot of people's schedule. So like, can you pare it down a little bit, take off some of those isolation exercises so that you can really focus on those compound lifts?
Yeah, prioritizing maybe like the movements that are actually going to like push the needle versus just, you know, some of those add-on ones. And you mentioned that earlier too. You're like, even when it comes to core isolated movements, like, yeah, they're nice and do them when you can. But if I'm ever short on time like that, those are the first things I nix because it's knowing that the other movements and other workouts are getting that core worked already.
Yeah. And
those just get to be extra, you know, if time allows.
This is the first week I've done a bicep curl in probably years. Honestly, I was like, oh, there's hammer curls in this program. I forgot I wrote that. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll do them. I'm like, these suck. Like my biceps are so sore today. But because I do so many rows and chin ups and stuff, I just don't necessarily need it as much. So I just usually cut those out.
A little something extra.
Yeah.
She's right in there doing it with y'all.
Bicep curls. Yeah, all those hammer curls. My biceps are sore today.
You flex on camera?
Yeah, we can. Of
Look
course.
at that.
We can flex.
Look at that. That's what you get. Okay, so going a bit outside of the gym into other areas, let's talk about creatine. And let's start out with this question of who should not take creatine?
So this is a great question because I really do feel like everyone should take creatine unless you have some sort of kidney, liver disease, potentially nursing or pregnant. There's not enough studies done on that. I've personally never been pregnant, but I haven't seen as much science backed behind that. So ask your doctor if it's okay first and foremost. But really mostly everyone besides that little group of people can and should be taking it if they are working out minimum 2 to 3 times a week to make sure that you're seeing progress. And, obviously we'll talk about creatine. Your muscles don't get as sore, you have better recovery, memory and cognition's better, sleep is better. Creatine is the most studied supplement on the market, and it is something I take every single day. 3 to 5 grams is really great, and it really just depends on what works best in your body. But personally for me, I take Legion, and I have for years at this point, and I take 5 grams a day.
We do have that full other episode where you go deep dive into creatine and you break down the science behind it and go into super specifics about how it works in the body and why you should be taking it as well. So we'll link that. And that's another fan favorite. Many people got good info out of that one.
Yeah. But highly recommend listening to that one.
Yeah. And so you mentioned it can help with some of the body repair, body restore. And the last question was, what should I do if I have an injury? How should I avoid overeating, gaining weight, and overall support the recovery process?
Yeah, it totally depends on what the injury is. I have a client right now that has a shoulder impingement and we're just not doing anything overhead. We're working with not doing as much push-ups, or it's push-ups at an incline, but you better believe we're still lunging and still squatting and sitting on a leg extension or leg press. There's so many things you can still do. She's getting her steps in. There's so many things that you can still do while you have that injury. So it just totally depends on what it is. Mm-hmm. If you are someone that is immobile or you cannot move your body in some capacity, really focusing on nutrition, and we can, go down this rabbit hole for a while, but focusing on how much protein you're getting, what does your fiber look like, looking at your plate as a whole, making sure that it has your protein, carbs and fats. We can do the portion size with our hand, right? We can look at, this is the palm of your hands, what you should be eating for your protein. This is vegetables. You can use your thumb for fats. You can also take a journal. We have a mindful and intuitive eating of how food makes you feel and why you're eating and what your hunger levels are and all that stuff as well. And then if you can, get in some sort of steps. And if you can't actually walk, maybe you get on a recumbent bike or a stationary bike, something like that. Maybe you go for a swim. I would say not always, but in most of the time, there's always a way to move your body in some capacity. My brand manager is handicapped and he is a CrossFit athlete, and he's a badass CrossFit athlete. And it's just so cool to see how people can move their body in so many different ways. And sometimes you just have to get a little creative with how you do it. And you can always, it's a setback, but it doesn't mean it's that you're there forever. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of if there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. And what you were saying earlier around the all or something versus the all or nothing mindset.
Yeah.
And I think so often, if we feel like we have a setback in life, whether it's, a little injury, a bigger injury, a diagnosis, whatever it is, it can be so easy to just kind of go into a why bother, why try, or really step away from everything that you had been doing. And it's how can we find ways to keep doing what makes us feel our best, what, challenges us and helps us grow, but adapt and find new ways to do it. And I think you gave so many great examples there. And especially when it comes to nutrition, and they were asking how do I avoid overeating and gaining weight? It's okay, well, let's bring the intentionality into it, find ways to keep moving your body, be mindful with your meals and get honest with yourself around, decisions you're making. And I think even what we were saying before, finding the ways to move. You can still take your creatine. You can still like eat your nutritious foods, rest, recover. Like there's so many ways to find a new way of being, even if things are suddenly different and drastically changed.
Totally.
And knowing that like in hopefully most cases it's temporary.
Yeah.
You know, and if it's not, you'll find a new normal and
Exactly.
that'll become it. Just like Brandon's badass example for sure.
I mean, I think of this as like even women going through menopause, like that this is a whole different transition of your life. And it's like, you're not going to be the person that you were before, but you can make this your new normal and be a badass new normal. So I think like, and injuries, like, gosh, you can learn so much about your body and be so much more body aware when you have an injury. So look at it from like a more opportunistic mindset. I know it's hard when it happens, of course, it's easy to be negative and pessimistic about it, but like, how can you take that, whatever happened, and like learn from it and grow from it and be able to help and teach other people from it? Because Brandon, that's what Brandon does. This is a little shout out, Brandon, if you're listening to this. He is an adaptive athlete and he works with a lot of other CrossFitters, and he goes to the CrossFit Games. Like it's just super inspiring to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's neat. I hadn't even thought about menopause, but that is a great example because that is something that every woman will experience and go through. And it really does come down to a matter of like, what are you going to do to adapt to this shift?
Right.
And it's unavoidable and it can get such a bad rap, and for good reason, but like there are things you can do and ways you can change. And you just got your certification, right? And so I imagine that's like exciting to have a whole new ballpark of ways to support women and educate them too.
Yeah, I'm super excited because it doesn't have to be this negative thing. It's just a transition. And there's so much opportunity there. And I'm super excited to work with more women at that level. But also there are so many women in menopause right now that are online and there's fitness fanatics, and it's just so cool to see them too. So I'm just trying to give a more exciting, positive experience to women in this transition of life.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some rapid fire questions. If you're ready to go into them.
Let's do it.
Okay, so is Broads accessible for beginners?
Yes. Now, I will say Broads is intermediate, but we do have home and gym versions, and every exercise has modifications and advancements to them, so you can easily substitute the exercises out. We have 1,800 exercises, so there's a ton of ways that you can modify it best for you. So yes, I would absolutely say it's beginner, but it leans a little bit more intermediate.
Even though like I watched you guys film and edit and helped with those 1,800 exercises, every time you say that number, I still get this like, oh my goodness, that realization of how much work y'all did for that. So just
it's never ending.
Had to say that.
It's never ending.
Okay, this one is lighter weights, more reps, or heavier weights, less reps? Assuming like which is better, what should people look for?
Is not a rapid fire question.
I know.
We actually did a whole podcast on this as well. There is no better. It depends on you and what you're looking for. But if you are trying to get stronger and body recomp, you do want to lean into more of that hypertrophy 4 to 12 rep range. Muscular endurance is great. That's 12 to 20 reps or more than that. But if you're trying to see progress, you want to be closer to like that 8 to 12 rep range. But we have a whole longer podcast on that.
Yeah. Lots of follow-up lessons from this one for y'all to go to. So where do you get your workout outfits from / what is your favorite right now?
Ooh, this is a great question because I feel like it changes all the time. But right now I'm on the Honor Active kick for sure. They have so many great matching fits. I was a matching fit girl like 10 years ago, and now I'm like back in it and I like love it. I'm all about it. So.
And I've seen some of your fits recently and they're igniting my spark to get more.
Yeah, it's the matching ones. I'm like, yes.
So cute. And their colors, like I just love their colors.
They fit well. They make you feel powerful. Like that. I really appreciate their brand too because it's very much about women empowerment and lifting heavy and being strong. And so I'm like, yeah, I want to support that women-owned business for sure. Yeah.
Very compatible. How much of a time commitment are the Broads workouts? Which I feel like we kind of already touched base on this one a bit.
Yeah, 45 to 75 minutes max. And that's gym version. I would say home are a little bit closer to like 35 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you get your PT certification from?
Gosh, 13 years ago. I got it from NASM, which is National Academy of Sports Medicine. They have so many, they've been in this game for a really long time. But I will say, get that. It's great. The most experience you can get is working with people, though. And all the other certifications that I've had since then, like I'm certified in mobility and kettlebells and full 200-hour yoga certification, Olympic weightlifting, hypertrophy, menopause. Like I have so many now, and I've learned so much more through those certs and working with people one-on-one and friends and stuff like that. But you do want the cert for insurance and peace of mind sake.
Yeah, probably like good base knowledge. But I do feel like whenever I explain your approach and programs and people and things to people, I always mention like you have such wide variety of knowledge and experience, you know, like you have the deep knowing with like the mobility and the kettlebell, like all of the different certifications and experiences you've had, I feel like really are what make your programming and your workouts and everything so unique, and what I love too, because I love having all of those influences in them all. So.
Yeah, I really do feel like I've taken a little piece of all of where I've been. And now just my philosophy now is just like, how can we add those all together, have fun, but also get strong AF? And that is so much of what I've been leaning into in the past 6 years. And now I see every woman lifting. I had a client yesterday say that she benched 160 pounds for 2 reps. Like that is so badass. Kelly, I have to say, I'm like, it's so cool. So those kind of big feats in strength are just what make you show up in so many other ways of your life. And it's just really cool to see that come to fruition for all my clients and all the broads out there. So yeah.
Love it. I love it. Love it. Well, last thing I wanted to ask is, I mean, you already alluded earlier to like your word presence for this year being energized, I believe it was. But in general, like how are you feeling in the season of life? Like, is there anything in particular that you feel excited, lit up about?
Just broads, join broads.
Simple.
7 days free. It's just an incredible community. It's only going to keep growing from here. We're only going to keep making the app better. And it's been over a year now in the works, and it's been 2 months out in the world, and it's crazy that it's already been that long, but constantly just trying to push that and trying to get more women to take up space and lift heavy shit. So be a broad. Let's go. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. I love to do these. They're super fun in person. And if you liked this episode, if you love me, please leave us a review. We appreciate the reviews so much. They help us grow. And I just love seeing that 5-star, because if it's a 4, not super stoked. But 5-star review, give us a little review, write a little something. It helps us grow so much. So thank you so much. And thank you, Emily, for being here.
Of course, always.